part of this journey of getting honest with ourselves is recognizing that we do need these deep connections. And if we don't have them, then why?
I think it's the realization that it is a need for me and I can get it met, but nobody can read my mind. And I'm an HCP. I can pretty much meet a lot of my own needs.
Yeah.
However, the need for true connection cannot be met just by me.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah. Well, hello, Mama G.
Hello, Miss Mary.
Hey, I know I don't have any pets,
Okay.
but I wouldn't mind me calling Mama M.
Mama.
Mama.
Mama. Mama.
Although I do have, I do have a
call,
grand kitten.
I'm going to call you Grandmama.
Oh, grandmama.
Like the jam.
Okay. Yes, I do. I do have a grand kitten. His name is Hero,
So cute.
and he's adorable.
Of course he is.
So I feel like I can then have the title of Mama.
I think so.
Okay, grandmama. Okay. There we go.
All right, so you're Grandmama. All right, so Mama G and Grandmama are here to kick off this chapter on true connection, which is a longing that both of us
Yes.
have had in our life. And we have worked hard to find that true connection and foster it and fight for it and nurture it.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. I know many of you have commented our friendship and the ease that we can tease and talk and go deep, and that's something that you notice and recognize and long for as well. And we long for that for you.
Sure.
For sure. But we've said this many, many times, just the sheer amount of work that it takes.
Yeah.
It takes vulnerability, it takes honesty, it takes trust and all that. But I think
And a lot of poking.
yeah, that's true. And she puts up with the poking, and you poke me back too. So,
I do.
It's good. It's all good, because we know ultimately we love each other. We have each other's back. We long for the best for each other. And I think that we talked about trust issues a few episodes ago, and how it blocks us from opening up to others because we have been hurt in the past. But this section, if we can spend some time talking about true connection, and I can remind you that we are wired for connection, that we are wired to be deeply intimate with other people, with God, with others, with the world, like just this connection at a deep level, at a soulish, heart, and body and everything level. And that if you can at least intellectually acknowledge that to yourself, even if you don't feel it, that's a really great place to start. There's oodles of science around how connections build wiring in our brain and how they lead to so much health and all sorts of good things.
Yeah.
So if you can at least intellectually acknowledge that you do long for true connections, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree. And I've actually, Mary, I've come across a few people in my life that would argue that they don't have
a
need for connection.
Right.
And that's not what the science shows.
Right.
Right. So it's like, we're all wired for connection.
We are.
And sometimes, people will misinterpret that because there is a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people that do alone very well.
Yes.
Right?
Right. But a lot of the reason why they do alone very well is because they do have deep connections.
Right.
And so that is something that allows them, going back to early childhood, part of what allows a child to go and explore the world is a secure attachment.
Yes.
And that means that they know they got people in their life.
Yeah.
So that they can go and explore and be independent. And if they fall, they have people there to help pick them up.
Right.
So if you think about this from the standpoint of a child, if you have access to a child or you are a parent of a child or a grandparent, and you see that vulnerability of need that child has, you had it too. You
That's
still
right.
have it in you, whether you're aware of it or not. And so part of this journey of getting honest with ourselves is recognizing that we do need these deep connections. And if we don't have them, then why? what's going on. Is it unresolved trauma? Is it, narratives that we believe about ourselves? Is it broken trust that we haven't taken time to repair? Is it shame? I mean, it might be going back over the chapters of the book to kind of see what resonates with you.
Yeah.
But if I can ask you to kind of hold that truth that I do need true, intimate, deep connections, then I think that's a really powerful place to start. And then you can begin to unpack the reasons why it's difficult for you or you've avoided it.
That's right.
And then you can begin to move forward in taking really small baby steps, the boop.
The power of the boop.
Power of the boop, to take these small steps towards developing these deep connections with others.
So I shared back in the trust chapter that I had been grade 3 girl stuff. I had been very hurt by a friend. And I was fortunate that probably I was young enough and the desire was strong enough in me to trust again. And I found a friend who I could trust. And then that led me to other friends because she was in a circle of friends. And we kind of traveled from grade 3 right through high school together.
Right.
And so even though that hurt and broken trust happened, I was resilient enough at that point to be able to then trust. And what I find is when I talk to especially women, they long for very trusting female relationships.
Yes. And it's as you're talking, making me think about our last episode we talked about self-mastery and an internal versus external locus of control. Some of you have come through very difficult childhoods, either with your family of origin or you've been bullied. And, I feel sadness for you that you had to go through those experiences. But I also feel hope for you if you can acknowledge that healing can happen.
Yes.
So if you stay in that place where you kind of go, I was bullied my whole life, people don't like me, it's not even worth trying, that sort of learned helplessness in relationships is what's keeping you stuck, not the original trauma itself. I'll say that. I mean,
you have to repeat that because it's such an important concept.
Right. It's the learned helplessness today that's holding you back, not the actual trauma itself. Because trauma may feel like it can never go away. And it is true. There are experiences in your life that are sometimes too big to even be able to contain it.
Right.
But there can be healing. I've been working in the field of psychology and psychotherapy for long enough, and myself having also worked on trauma to know that there can be healing. Healing doesn't mean you forget things. It doesn't mean that you still don't get triggered. All of that. I'm not saying that at all. But you can move forward and grow.
Yeah.
And take steps of risk. But one of the things I would ask you to do when you think about your past is what part did you play? Even the 1%. And the part that you played might have been that belief that I'm a victim, there's something wrong with me, that people don't like me naturally, so why bother trying?
Exactly. And I do think that if we can own that part.
It's huge.
Recognize it and own it. Then moving forward in our pursuit of true connection, we can then say, okay, what part am I owning in this? That for instance, you and I, I've got to own my part that I initiate and not always wait for you to initiate, right? Like I've got to reach out to you and not just always be sitting by the phone waiting for Mary to text me.
Right.
It's a back and forth.
Right.
And if I haven't heard you for a little while, then I'm going to go, send you something funny or whatever, check in on you. But when you went on your cruise with your sister a while ago, you said, well, just feel free to text me or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to text you on your cruise. And then afterwards I thought, that's so stupid. You go, I know you got Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But it was like this thing like, well, you're having a good time with your sister.
Right.
So why would my needs matter because you're having a good time doing that? Like that's...
I know.
How grade 3 is that?
Well, it's so like boxing your life.
I
It's kind
know.
of like, because I'm away, I'm obviously only having a fabulous time. Nothing bad's happening to me. And because you're at home, only like you're just like in this gray home routine.
I know.
And neither shall cross.
No, neither the twain shall meet.
Neither shall me. I was thinking too for myself, which I shared also in that episode of Broken Trust, where I had the situation happen with that friend.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look back on my life and my tendency to overfunction in relationships,
Yeah.
and take the blame for the breakdown of relationships. I also have to own the fact that I tended to attract people who were needier,
Yes.
a little more dysfunctional, because ultimately, I gotta be honest, it made me feel good to be the helper in the situation, to be the one that they leaned on, the one that
Yes.
they needed.
That's right.
And I would ignore the pain that I felt when their dysfunction would hurt me.
Yeah.
And it was to the point where I think by the time I was in my 40s, when did we start getting into sort of a deeper relationship? So maybe it would have been late 30s. I was kind of like, I suck at this friendship thing. On the outside, everyone would think I had friends.
Right.
But like for me, in terms of my need for connection, I was like, I suck at this.
Yeah.
And I had to be really intentional, kind of go, what is it that I'm doing that's contributing to the fact that I don't actually have close, trusted females? And I remember one time a friend of mine said to me, she goes, what can I do to help take the walls down around your heart? I'm like, whoa, called out. Because it's true, I was protecting my heart.
And you didn't probably think you even had any walls.
I didn't think they were noticeable.
Walls? What walls?
Walls. And so from that point, I was really intentional. And it didn't mean that I went out
No.
and, interviewed a bunch of people and chose who my friends were and decided to go. And when it was a journey,
Yeah.
and that goes back to what we've talked about as friends. And a
Yes.
lot of it was timing. Our lives happened to kind of come together
Yeah,
in a
that's
way
right.
just because of what we were doing
That's
and
right.
time of life. And so we started, and both of us, I think, were at that place where we were longing for that deep
Yeah.
connection and had owned enough of our own stuff that we were able to kind of go, I have agency in how this relationship plays out. So, and then we stuck with it because there was, as we've said before, we wanted to fire each other multiple times.
Yeah.
But I think the acknowledgement of what was causing me to not trust or to have trouble with deep connection, the acknowledgement that I long for it, and then actually taking active steps to grow in it in baby steps was kind of the thing. And then now I'm like so aware of how much I need that connection, that if I don't connect with you guys regularly, my close friends,
That's right.
even by messaging, I'm like, something's wrong.
That's right. And then I feel the same for me too. Like, and I have to lay down my wall
Yeah.
of not needing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Mary's going to be away for a month. I don't need connection. No, that's not true. I need connection.
Right.
And it doesn't mean it's going to be the same as when we're together, but it means that the need is still there and it can still be met. It's not going to be met in the way maybe I would love it to, but it's going to be met.
Yeah.
And I think that is I love that you ask us about what part do we own in it, because how many of us are in a relationship where somebody else is doing the heavy lifting?
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Or maybe we're the ones doing the heavy lifting.
yeah.
And we long for that other person to kind of pick up the phone, text us, invite us out for coffee, or initiate.
Or we put it out there to the wrong people. How often do we do that?
Yeah. Knowing that it may never get met.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's self-awareness, wisdom, maturity also means that I'm honest with the kinds of people that I want to connect with, the kinds of people who may not be as healthy for me to connect with. And I can have different levels of connection. I can have a deeper connection with you than with another friend.
Sure.
And it's still good. It's still positive. And also the other thing too with true connection is I've learned to recognize that there is not a single person on the face of the planet that can meet all my emotional needs.
No.
Doesn't exist. Just nada. So then I can have grace with what I can let go of my expectations in relationship, even though vulnerability does mean putting myself out there in terms of what I need from my friends. So my asking you to initiate more was something that I did, and you've been very responsive to that. That is a important part of the relationship. But then it's also recognizing that you can't do it all, nor will you do it perfectly.
Right.
And that I have to be responsible for even being aware of my emotional needs, being able to like be realistic in what I can expect from others. And ultimately, when we talk about connection, there is also a true connection with ourselves.
Yes.
And a self-acceptance, and a how am I treating myself, and how am I connecting with myself? How am I being honest with myself, so that I can then bring it out to others?
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that I've been, as you've been talking, we tweak each other with.
Yeah.
Because if you're a high capacity person, HCP as we call them, right? You're going to meet more relational needs for others than are being met within yourself. You just, because you're a high capacity person, you're able to carry the load. You're able to carry the weight. The relationship, if it's important to you, you're going to do more in the relationship than maybe the other person's doing. And that can create a really unhealthy pattern. So if you're an HCP and you're carrying a lot of the weight in a lot of your relationships, your most important ones, you got to step back and go, wow, I'm owning too much of this. And I might need to let the other person know, you know what?
You can step in more.
This is what I actually need from you. Like you came to me.
Yeah.
You came to me and you were really honest. And you said to me, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I would like. This is what I need. And you kind of laid it out. And I was able to pick up that piece.
Right.
And I'm thrilled to be able to do it.
Yeah. And that is true. Like, as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, my friends actually want to do it. Like, the number of times you've asked me, what do you need? I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's my responsibility of even knowing what I need and being able to ask.
Yes.
People can't read minds.
No.
At all. The other thought I had as you're talking about HCP people is that there are certain people who are wired, like if we're talking about the Enneagram, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. I love helping other people.
Yes, you do.
So I get joy out of it. And so although on the outside I may look like sometimes in some relationships it's an uneven balance, I don't feel resentment towards it because I get so much joy out of it. So there is that. If your essential self, that's part of how you're wired, you can be generous and loving and giving, but it's not at loss of you and yourself and always weighing yourself as less than.
Right.
It's the freedom. I think this is really key. I was coaching a fellow too, and I was talking about how our holy idea, and I'm not going to explain it at this point, but it's sort of like our core thing about us is freedom.
Yeah.
And that means in the past, in our unhealthy self, we gave away our freedom and our freedom to actually choose to actually be giving. We're wired to be giving. We're wired to be generous. But if we're doing it because we want to people please or we're afraid to disappoint others, then we've given away our freedom and we start to resent it. So the healthier, more evolved version of myself is that I know I'm giving and generous and I love it, but I do it out of freedom, out of choice.
That's right.
That is the key.
And I think that comes back to that, like, self-reflection, right? Are my needs being met? Or am I meeting the needs of others in order to do something for myself here?
Yeah.
So what's the motivation here? I think that's because I can say, on the other flip side is an Enneagram 8. I could go, well, my needs are pretty low. I really don't need blah, blah, blah. And that's not true.
It's not true.
I need authentic relationship and I need truthful relationship. And I need someone to be able to see below the walls into the tender place within.
The marshmallow.
My little marshmallow heart.
Which comes out when cute donkeys and all that stuff comes out.
I'm a puddle.
Yes.
I'm a puddle.
Yes.
But so I think it's the realization that it is a need for me and I can get it met, but nobody can read my mind. And I'm an HCP. I can pretty much meet a lot of my own needs.
Yeah.
However, the need for true connection cannot be met just by me.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah. No. It's so true. Yeah. I've so admired that you have been down this path and being able to acknowledge, like you've now on many times on the podcast, but in interactions, you've talked about the recognition of your self-protection.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, well, I don't need you. Well, I don't need people. And all of the things that we say to ourselves, as opposed to you going, no, actually, I know I need you, but I'm being self-protective because I'm afraid of being hurt.
Yes.
Or disappointed or whatever it might be.
But that also comes out of doing the work.
Yeah.
Doing the work of rebecoming and that birthright that I have needs. I was born with needs. My essential self was born with significant relational and connection needs. And I know now when I can name my walls.
Yes.
And I can say, like I even said in our group last time we met, that this is the big one said to the group was, like, my inner critic is there because if I hurt myself first, then you can't hurt me.
Yeah.
So that's a wall.
Yeah.
And that's the inner critic at play. And I can now recognize that. So the more work we do on ourselves and the more we say, what is my true longing for connection? What does it really look like? And for some of us who have that deep, deep, deep longing, sometimes we don't share our longings because we're afraid they're never going to get met.
Right.
And that keeps us stuck. And that's sad.
It is.
That's so sad to me.
It is very sad.
And I know I've done that to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I'm thinking about how we can personalize this, I think reflection on your current relationships and the quality of them, the health of them, just being really honest with yourself about it is really key. But then recognizing what are my walls. In fact, this might even be the exercise. Like draw a stick figure of yourself and then put walls around yourself.
I'm in the tower.
Okay, she's in a tower. Okay, however you want to draw it. And then start to put labels to these walls. So for me, shame is a huge wall. People pleasing is another wall. Like whatever it is, like what is it that's preventing you from reaching out for true connection? And then once you've kind of identified the walls, what steps do you need to take to begin to work on those? And maybe again, if you're in a rebecoming group, that is already a fabulous place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're just risk telling someone in your life that you're recognizing you have these self-protective walls and that you actually are working on it. And that might be a place to start.
Yeah. Like I can laugh and joke about my walls now because of having done an awful lot of self-reflection and work and reading and journaling and learning. And I'm committed to being a lifelong learner about myself and about how I show up in the world to myself and to others. So I can laugh and joke about my walls and say that I'm a tower and I'm really not now.
No.
but I can say these things only because I recognize that's where I have been.
Yeah.
And I no longer dwell there. But when I start to see little glimpses of that showing up again, I can quickly go, oh, I know what's happening here. And I think that's the transformation journey. Is that I haven't arrived, but I'm now able to name and identify the things that could keep me stuck and could keep me from reaching out to others and getting those true connections met. So there is so much hope for all of you. If you were like me, and when I said, I'm a tower, you go, yeah, me too. You can work towards, being like in a moat or on the bridge. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And some of you may think like, I'm not a tower. I have no walls whatsoever. Sometimes that's actually your wall. Yeah. Like me, I think I'm an open book. I'm so loving and all that. But actually it's typically one way and it's very hard for me to receive it. So if people affirm me, I'm like, no. I'm not receiving. I'm not. And what is that wall about?
To the point where I have to say to her, I'm going to say something to you and I want you to receive it. Like I actually have to preempt.
I know. And then I have to take a deep breath and go, okay, lay it on me. When I actually long for it. Like, hello, we have walls. So I think that it's being able to, that's part of the vulnerability, part of the self-awareness that ultimately we all have a longing for connection,
Yeah.
and whatever that looks like, because we are wired differently for what that looks like, being aware of it, working towards it is so valuable. I mean, it is a key part of true transformation.
Yes.
So have it at the walls.
How about it? Get out your sledgehammer, man.
I was just going to say, go to the, like, maybe just like have an actual physical hammer hanging on the wall as a reminder that you're going to be working through.
It's very therapeutic to break a lot of them down.
I think so.
Smash
Ooh,
them. Yeah, it really is.
I like that idea.
Take care,
gosh.
everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for hanging in with us. Walls and all.
Thanks for listening to the Fully Lived Life podcast. We hope you found it encouraging and helpful. Be sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. And if you enjoyed our show, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family and posting on your social media. Thanks for listening, and tune in to our next episode.